The concept I'm about to talk about can be a game changer for your interpersonal relationships, although it can also apply to other kinds of situations where whenever you're trying to achieve a specific goal, it's still, mostly about relationship, but it can apply in many different areas of life. And I'm going to give you specific examples. But before we get into it, if you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel, make sure you do so. Also, if you're listening to me on iTunes, just leave me a review. So with that, let's get started. The concept I'm going to be talking about is called the separation of tasks. This is from psychologist Alfred Adler, if I'm saying it correctly. And it's all about understanding which tasks you're responsible for and which tasks the other person is responsible for. So basically, just have to worry about yourself and let other people do what they're supposed to do. Sounds simple, right? But just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy. How often did you run into situations where you're having problems with your lovers or with your friends because you're simply intruding and you're trying too hard to get them to do something that is completely not in your control? It is up to them. So it's outside of your control. And this concept is somewhat spiritual in a sense, or philosophical. It's very much in line with the Stoic concept of not trying to control things that are outside of your control. So only focus on what you can control. I'm going to read you my favorite quote from Epictetus, who is a Stoic philosopher. He said, "The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control and which have to do with the choices that I actually control. Where then do I look for good and evil? Not to uncontrollable externals, but within myself to the choices that are my own." That's such a juicy quote, right? Now, I would like to go into some examples because it's going to be easier for you to understand it with some concrete examples rather than abstract knowledge, right? So let's do a few. The first one is having to do with a girl that you like, all right? Or a guy. It could be either way, but I'll use the example of a girl because I'm a guy. It's just easier for me to talk this way. But let's say you like a girl, and what is your task? You want to ask her out, right? You want to let her know that, hey, I'm interested in you. I like you. I want to take you out to dinner, or I want to hang out, whatever. But your task as the guy here is just let her know you want to take her out. Ask her out on a date, right? That's your task. What is the girl's task in this case is she can either accept your invitation and go out with your wonderful self, or she can decline your invitation, okay? That's her task, all right? She can either say yes or no. So in essence, you cannot control what she does, right? That's her task to decide if she wants to go out with you or not. You've done everything you can. Now let's take this further. Let's say you don't know this concept or you're not practicing this concept. You might not be able to take a no for an answer. And we've all seen these guys that all these girls keep telling them, no, man, I'm not interested. Stop talking to me. Stop texting me. Leave me alone. But these guys aren't getting the clue. This girl's not interested. She just told them no in multiple ways. A lot of guys try to beg and convince and ask the girl to give them another chance and all that kind of stuff. And that's when you're intruding on the other person's task. And even if you convince the girl to go out with you on that date, she's just going to be there because you basically forced her. You're not going to have a good time together because she didn't consciously choose to be there, okay? She did not fulfill her own task consciously on her own. She did it because you intervened and you kind of forced her into it. A lot of people do that, but it usually leads to nowhere. This reminds me of another common phrase: you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. Let's do another example. Let's say you already are in a relationship, in a serious relationship. Let's say you're even married, and you've been with your girl or guy for some time. Again, I'm gonna use this example as a guy with a girl, but it can be vice versa. Let's say in your relationship, after several years, you're like, you know what? I really feel like we're not spending enough quality time together. So what is your task here? Well, you can make a request to your partner. You can say, hey, babe, I'd like us to spend more time together. Could we? Should we? Will you? You're basically just expressing how you feel and that you want more time with this person. Now, you can also plan a vacation and tell her and surprise her and say, hey, we're going to go on this vacation together. I bought us tickets. So you can take actions. You can verbally express what you want, your request. You can be more present in the moment with her so she will want to spend more time with you. You can do all these different things that are in your control. But now, so that's your task. But now, what is her task? Her task is either to come on board or not. So after you express to her in words that you want to spend more time with her, she could say, yeah, I'd love that. Or she might say, no, I feel like we're spending enough time together. If they don't want to spend time with you, you'll notice it just by the way they behave. Maybe they'll avoid you, act distant, or say no to going on that vacation with you that you really wanted to. Again, your task is simply to express what you want in that situation. And her task is to come on board, to understand your position, or she could also explain to you why at this point in her time, this is not a good time for her to spend more time with you. That's another thing she could bring up. And then your task becomes to either accept what she's bringing you, or you can decide that doesn't work for you, that's a deal breaker for you. Right? So that's kind of how you want to start thinking about when you're dealing with in relationships. For example, let's go a little bit more complex, even with this specific example. Let's say she's not on board with spending more quality time with you at this moment of her time. Now, let's say for you, it's very important that she spends the time. So let's say you don't want to accept those terms. So now your task is then to let's say this is a deal breaker for you. In that case, you may want to take a break or express that you're thinking that this might not work out then, or maybe just break up, because if this is such a big deal for you, right? If you feel like you're not spending enough time, you're not getting your needs met, etc. At that point, that's your task. So it's like a new task. And then she can again then decide what to do. There are times when, when you're willing to walk away, the girl will be like, all right, well, I do actually want to spend time with you because I really love you. Let's try to negotiate a win-win situation. I mean, ideally, in a loving, healthy relationship, you would find some kind of win-win situation that both people are happy with. Okay, that's the whole point. As you can see, the whole point here is that you are expressing what you want, what you feel, you're doing the actions that are in your control, doing your task, and then you have to let other people do their task, okay? And that's how you have win-win situations. Related to all of this is this idea that we want to get really good at observing reality for what it is. Oftentimes, we lie to ourselves about what's really going on because we don't want to face the truth, okay? Sometimes the truth is painful. So this is very important that throughout your relationships, in your life, in all kinds of situations that you find yourself in, it's important that you try to see reality as objectively as possible, even if you don't like it, because then you'll be able to take the necessary actions. But it's very difficult with loved ones and friends and close people because you get emotionally involved. So part of this whole idea here is that you need to be able to have some emotional detachment, or the ability to step away from how you feel emotionally and look at what's going on with the other person. You want to read what's going on with the other person, okay? Because very easy to get emotionally involved and try to bulldoze the other person to do what you want, okay? I've done that in the past. I think we all have, especially if you have a very strong personality. Sometimes you just want to bulldoze over people because you want to get what you want and you're emotionally invested, but it usually doesn't work out well anyway. You want people to be on board consciously on their own volition, right? So very important to have this emotional detachment, kind of like from the Buddhism perspective, and also just practicing awareness of what's going on in your dynamic as a whole. Both of you need to be understanding, like, what's going on here, whose needs are important, whose needs are not being met, etc. While the separation of tasks is really applicable to relationships, you can also apply this to other situations. I'm going to give you an example right now, which is in a business or career situation. So if you're trying to be a cool YouTuber like me, and you want to be world famous online, not that I don't actually want to be famous, but if you're creating content online and you're creating videos, you may want them to get some views, right? And what is your task? Your task is to create the best video, the best content that you can, and then upload it to YouTube. That's your task. And from there, you could also do your best to promote your video and perhaps put in a great title. You can use the right hashtags. You can make the best thumbnail to catch people's attention. That's in your control. That's your task. That's what you got to do. But from there, you got to let go of control. And now YouTube has to do the task of actually promoting your video and recognizing that it's good and it needs to be shown to more people, assuming it is good, right? So this is where YouTube's algorithm kicks in, and they figure out based on how many minutes people watch of your video, how many likes, comments, shares it gets, all that kind of stuff. And then if they see that your stuff is really good, they're going to promote it. They're going to suggest it to other people who may be interested in your content. But that task is up to YouTube, not up to you. Your task is just to put the best stuff out there. Okay, that's the best way to look at it. This is what happened to me personally. One of my online brands, I have another 2 different YouTube channels. One of them called Back Intelligence. You can check it out. The YouTube channel really blew up during COVID times. Okay, so we were just making really good content, really good videos. And then one of our videos called How to Fix Your Forward Head Posture, it got into the millions of views. Right now, I believe it's at 5 or 6 million views. Back then, it was a 1 or 2 million. During the pandemic, everybody's at home trying to work on their posture, right? So that video blew up and exploded, and that helped to explode our YouTube channel as a whole. Now, that happened maybe 1 or 2 years in. Our views on our videos weren't that big at that point, but that one video really helped us, and that's when the whole channel started to pick up, and that's when all our videos started to get more views. But that's, again, that was the YouTube gods that blessed us, or as well as COVID times, the universe brought that into, helping me out. That's what happened. All I could do is just produce the best videos. So that's what you want to start thinking about in your business as well, in your career, in other situations. What's in your control, what isn't. All right, that's it for today. What do you think? Leave me a comment below. Let me know if you're practicing the separation of tasks or not. And as usual, subscribe to this YouTube channel, like it, share it. If you listen to me on iTunes, leave me a review. And I'll see you guys on the next episode.